try to be flattered. I'll try really hard. But with 5 minutes left in the qualifying session and the sun getting ever lower, track should be cooling off. Times should be improving as we go along. So to the end of the session, I'm expecting this is going to see drivers pretty aggressively trying to get their track position, trying to get their laps in. Joshua Soto at the top of the board at the moment. Someone's going to have to find 0.3 of a second to dislodge him from that pole. But it's a big lap around here. 0.3 really isn't all that much. You've only got to find a couple thousandths of a second at each corner.
Well, and easy to do. You just, hit the bump the right way, and these momentum-y cars will pay it off for you. A couple quick laps going on out there. I want to say Jordan Johnston set a fast first sector. Second place on the grid right now. Seeing if he can improve as he comes through the back half of the course.
Winner in the TCR at Kota. So a change here to the Toyota GR86. We're rolling through different cars at different rounds this season, as we've done in past in the ChampCar iRacing series. But Toyota GR86 and the TCRs added to that rotation this year. And it requires drivers to be good in a couple of different styles of car, not just around a couple of different tracks. So for Jordan Johnson, I don't know how much I can trust my timing, but this looks like it could be an improvement on his previous best, a 2-minute 24.6. It won't be, though. That's pit entry.
Yeah, that would seem to be an indication that it was not faster. But we'll keep on looking out there. There's always green sectors popping up on the board. Got a little bit of battling going on in our qualifying session here by the looks of things. Colin Lounsbury is taking avoiding action, it looks like. I think that was Alex Harrison.
Got right out of his way there by intention or by circumstance.
We have noticed that the GR86 kind of catches a lot of our ChampCar drivers out. They're not used to the amount of driving aids that sort of impact how you have to drive this car. You're definitely quick with the ABS and the traction control, but if you get it a little bit wrong, it's hard to recover the car sometimes.
Yeah, it is quite an interesting car. Very, very new, the Toyota GR86. People still quite figuring out how it does and how it does it. And of course, Sebring is the ultimate test track for that sort of thing. You've got some fast corners, you've got some tighter, slower corners, and you've got bumps on bumps on bumps.
Well, I keep trying to look for drivers out on fast laps. I'm following Colin Lounsbury here. He's got a couple of green sectors strung together in the middle there. He's currently running in 9th place with 225.8, looking to bump himself a little further up the grid. Lounsbury's got more of a background in karting than in real full-size car racing rather. But dipping his toes in on the ChampCar iRacing series. Good taste in tools. Those are always there.
What do they say in England? Other brands are available. Something like that. I think that's a bit of a BBC thing. Lounsbury crossing the line for a 226.2. So still 0.4 away from what he'd done before. He's just crossed the line with about 40 seconds left, so this will be the last roll of the dice, the last attempt to land an improvement on a track that ought to be getting quicker as we go. It really should, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of evidence to support that.
Yeah. Lounsbury might also just be a front-wheel drive guy after that second-place performance in the last round in the TCR. If you got your Hondas driving around, whatever. Need someone to come and put in a quick lap in one of those, he might be your guy.
This will be Jordan Butler's last lap because the checkered flag is out on qualifying now. So through Sunset Bend, attacking that corner as hard as you dare. He's heading towards the line, looking to improve on 225.7. And he does, and it sends him up to 5th on the grid. Good improvement at the last opportunity there. They're all taking the checkered flag now and putting a little bow on the end of their qualifying.
Simon Fullweather's coming to the line with a couple quick sectors in the middle of the lap. Currently 11th. Cross of the line won't be an improvement for him. Lost a bunch in the last sector by the looks of things. Fullweather's been a front runner for us though before in that birds aren't real themed car.
That is one of the most popular liveries on Trading Paints. I don't know what's going on with this clean up the tyres, warm up the tyres, but it will be to no avail there.
Yeah, Lounsbury's going to be coming down the back straight here, coming around all that.
My favorite bit of the birds aren't real paint is somewhere along the lines it says, if it flies, it spies. And I'm like, whoa, that's too deep, man. You're a bit wacky. But we're going through Sunset Bend here now with one of the last drivers who's going to get to set a time. Look at those bumps. So unpredictable. You hit them an inch different one lap to the next and you get a totally different result. Chaos personified. Across the checkered flag we go. Are we seeing any improvement here, Devin?
That was a little quicker, but it wasn't enough quicker to make a difference. 225.7 knocks a 10th off, but wasn't quite enough to move him up the grid. So deep in the field, well, middle of the field for Lounsbury, still in the top 10, but disappointing for him, you got to think, after last week's performance, or last race's performance. A couple folks practicing their pit entrance. We will have one mandatory pit stop tonight, so that'll be an important skill set. And Sean Saputra's taking us around Sunset Bend at sunset on his final qualifying lap as he tries to get into get a little deeper into the top 10.
10th at the moment, crossing the line. The lap time will come up for me shortly.
Yeah,
Not sure there's a whole lot going on there.
Yeah, hasn't managed to improve, unfortunately. It looks like he had an off track somewhere there near the end of the lap. And that's pretty much it for runners, I think.
Yeah, I think Foweather took the checkered. The grid pretty close to locked in with Joshua Soto and Jordan Johnson on the front row from Andrew Lanning and Ian Giebler, and Nick Love, Tim Wire, Dakota Knapp, Jordan Butler, Colin Lounsbury, and Sean Saputra. The numbers are right, and the positions aren't on that graphic again, but the numbers are correct.
Yeah, our late joiners to the series always like to cause us a little bit of a misery with our overlay, but we'll get it fired back up for you and going again.
I reckon about now, as we switch over to the cars gridding, is the best chance to take a look at the grid once again. Well, there they are, gridding behind the Mustang pace car, which is going to take them on the formation lap around Sebring. I've driven a Ford Mustang at 30 miles an hour around Sebring, so I'm qualified, baby. Give me the flashing lights. Here's the rolling start, side by side, double wide grid of Joshua Soto, Jordan Johnson, Andrew Lanning, Ian Giebler, Jordan Butler, Nick Love, Tim Wire, Dakota Knapp, Colin Lounsbury, and Sean Saputra. Behind them, we have Simon Foweather, John McManus, Davis Trask, Will Nonamaker, Alex Harrison, Mark Kruger, Orlando Herald, David Warden, Scott Grinnell, Jared Cubitt, Charles Kowalczyk, Alan Wells, Bill Salin, and Ben Rose.
Yeah, so we're looking through the grid there. We got a lot of long-time drivers. From points perspective, a few storylines to follow. We're hitting the halfway point in the season at today's race, and of course, as you know, there is a pretty significant prize on the line for that season-long points race. 1,500 champ bucks for the driver who manages to take the championship home this season. Josh Soto on the pole and leading the point, so he's got to be feeling pretty good about that, but not without his challengers. Andrew Lanning showed up and put himself on the podium the last few races, so he's a consideration after drop weeks are factored in. And also in our top 10 is Ian Giebler, currently 4th place on the grid and 10th place in the points. We've got Davis Trask out there today, 13th on the grid, but 4th overall in the points. And then also noticing out there Nick Love, 6th on the grid and 9th in the points. So we got a few folks that are definitely in contention for the season-long race. And don't worry, even if you're not one of the speed demons up at the front in our series, there's also a chance to win one of the door prizes. We've got 250 champ dollars available to drivers who complete 4 consecutive races at least 50% of the way through. So all you have to do is show up and not crash it, which is pretty much the most important skill set you have when you go racing. Isn't that right, Hayes?
Absolutely.
So plenty of opportunities to get out there and have a good time on track. And as always, it's a series where there's racing all the way up and down the field. It's not just at the pointy end of the grid. We've got folks that have good battles, even if it's over 23rd place.
I reckon Alan Wells and Bill Salen starting together at the back could have an interesting go of it back there. Teammates from Team Salen.
Yeah, I've heard on good authority that Bill's goal for the night is not to die. I'm not sure if typing while he's driving is going to help that out, though.
So, track temperature, track conditions, getting towards the sunset will be dark by the end of this. And in my head, I can't do Celsius to Fahrenheit, Devin.
Oh, that's about 71 degrees Fahrenheit, 75 on the track. I keep my overlay in freedom units, I'll have you know.
And I know I can always count on you for that.
Overcast and getting later by the looks of things out here. Starting the race at about 8 p.m. local time. Should be a little bit like the end of the real ChampCar race that goes on out here.
Yep, exactly. Not too many weeks away from ChampCar 14 hours of Sebring, which, I mean, what a great race, what a great track. An immense, almost immeasurable amount of history around here in Formula One racing and sports car racing. Everyone wants to test here because they know it's a challenge on the car, a challenge on the drivers. That's why you've got sports car teams, IndyCar teams, NASCAR teams testing here on the road course at Sebring. But it is a great place to go racing, and the front row has Joshua Soto and Jordan Johnson right up behind the pace car as we go through sunset. It's about to pull into the pit entry and get us racing. 60 minutes of racing is what we're about to have. The pace car is in. The green flag comes out. The field are checked up 2 wide, 3 wide, fanning out between the concrete barriers on the start-finish line at Sebring International Raceway. But Joshua Soto, middle of the road, nose in front, getting pushed by Andrew Lanning. Gives him a bit of a bump drop, gives him a bad bump, and it sends him sideways in turn number 1. Somehow, it doesn't trigger a massive accident, but as they compress down on the run towards turns 2 and turn 3, I thought we were going to see it there as well. Not a great start for the pole sitter, and not his fault.
Yeah, that was some pretty quality evasive action. You saw the power of the traction control because that car didn't go whipping all the way around. It just kind of held in the slide, caused a little bit of chaos further back with Simon Foweather facing the wrong way as he took evasive action and checked up into the back of Colin Lounsbury. But by the looks of things, everyone's carrying on, and there's no one that's too broken in order to not be in this race anymore.
Exactly. Really thought our pole sitter was gone, done. Someone was going to drill them there as they got hit from behind on the way in towards turn number 1. But carries on, if not a lot further back in the field than he would have expected.
Already seeing some moves here from Josh Soto as he tries to make up ground, currently running in what looks to be about, what is that, 9th place? 10th place, 9th place. Anyway, I'm enjoying the fact that he's got the headlight flasher bound as he's flicking at people already.
Yeah, he does. Doesn't seem to have much damage at all on the car, and so he keeps on going. And here's Johnson and Lanning up front. Ian Giebler third, Nick Love fourth, starting to get stretched out a little bit there until you get to Tim Wire in 5th, where it is all going on. They're bumping and banging behind them. Dakota Knapp and Jordan Butler on their way in towards Lamar corner here. And that's cutting the course for Butler.
Josh Soto is cheering, though. I think he just made 3 spots up in that little melee there as they all got checked up and wild. He's in that yellow and black looking car in the middle of the picture there. Makes up another spot on Tim Wire, who's given up a slowdown, and Colin Lounsbury now in the draft. They're 2 wide into Sunset up ahead of them.
Well, you can pick and choose your line, and you'll never be right, but you'll also never be wrong at Sunset Bend. So different drivers approaching it different ways. And so
Soto's making
Johnson and Lanning also picked up slowdowns.
Yeah, it looked like everyone just kind of got shuffled off the left and right of the track. I think there was a little bit of evasive action, but if you haven't practiced it in iRacing, going off track aggressively like that can cost you some serious slowdowns.
Yeah, both of them cut part of the track late on in the lap. Ian Giebler goes to the lead of the race, and consistency proving key already in this one. It closes up the whole grid as first and second had to drop back, and you could see your field from the leader on backwards. It hasn't gone well for anyone who started in the top 3 so far. Joshua Soto still fighting his way back through the field. He's up into 5th after all we saw with slowdowns in the mid-pack, contact between Butler and others, and now you've got Jordan Johnson trying to push Ian Giebler along, looking to get back towards the race lead. 3 Toyota GR86s in 3 car lengths as they come towards the far end of the circuit just before tower turn. Nice that there's still a tower there. Yeah,
I love it out there, and it's such a challenging corner as they as they bring it around.
So Giebler leading the way, the pole sitter and last race's winner by a massive margin. Behind him in second, but there's no massive margins for the lead so far in the GR86 at Sebring. It's let Nick Love catch right up to them, and he goes for the wide entry, late apex, straight line speed. David Warden's got a black flag, but I'm watching it oh so closely. I think they've all got a lot more respect for track limits this time around, having seen how many drivers were tripped up by it on lap 1 as they tried to race. Got to stay between the lines in the wide open bits of pavement in the corners at Gendebien and Le Mans. Through Sunset we go, and Johnson going a little bit wider, trying to carry a big wide arc rather than just get it down low to the apex, and it might give him a chance to try to take the race lead away, but he doesn't. He just elects to bump Ian Giebler. Super speedway strategies coming out as we go lap number 2 to lap number 3.
Oh, drama through the Sunset Bend last time by. Dakota Knapp, rather, turns in, gets a little tag from Colin Lounsbury, and ends up facing the wrong way. He's managed to recover it and keep it off the wall, so it's not going to end his race, but it's definitely going to cost him a few positions as he got it gathered back together. Really an easy thing to do, because like he said, if you're a few inches left or right, it's going to change your braking point substantially, because you can only brake when the car is on the flat level and not when it's bouncing around all over the place. Another little bit of drama coming into the pit lane right now. We got Alan Wells way back in the field last time by. He's dragging bits of the car behind him by the looks of things as he rolls it into the pits. One of our first
quite
stops.
A lot of damage on the left rear. Joshua Soto has also caught the leaders, so 5 of them in 1.5 seconds now, and from what could have been absolutely race over in turn number 1, lap number 1 for Joshua Soto, the pole sitter. He's back now within grasp of the race lead and probably won't feel so bad about where he's sitting.
Yeah, if you're in the pack, you're in the battle, and honestly, there's some advantages to being around 5th place there. A little bit of lift and coast available, a little bit of fuel save, all that.
You can keep an eye on what the rest of them are doing from there as well. Very, very easily see what lines people are taking, who looks like they're saving fuel, who looks like they're not. And down the back straight here, Nick Love having a little bit of a look for 3rd place. Andrew Lanning kind of moves him across a little bit, but I don't think that's the done move, because suddenly you're pulling out of the slipstream of 1st and 2nd. It leaves you yet more vulnerable to Nick Love trying to get down the inside, but Lanning outbrakes him, gets comfortably to the inside of Sunset Bend, but maybe doesn't maximize the exit. Love's getting punchy.
Headlights flick on as they cross the line this time, and Lanning is going to be hard-pressed to defend this move from Nick Love. Around the outside, he holds it. Nick Love's going to have a little bit more room on the exit, though.
No room between 1st and 2nd, and again, Jordan Johnson opts not to make the move, and it forces Andrew Lanning to have a look down the inside for 2nd place as they lift off Concertina in towards turns 3, 4, 5. And now Love looks to get around the outside, gets just a little bit of the dirt, but he doesn't take his foot out of it. And they're side by side for 3rd. This is starting to be not what Joshua Soto wants to see, as 1st and 2nd sail away with a 2 wide track blockage in front of him.
Team leader on team leader as Andrew Lanning gets taken by Nick Love up the inside. Heartland Racing in the white and green livery, and Nick Love in that traditional blue livery for the Love Racing cars.
Yeah, and the longer this goes on, the greater the chance of 1st and 2nd slipping away. Nick Love still trying to hold ground around the outside, just gets his nose chopped off by Andrew Lanning.
Yeah, got a little bit loose as he was turning through that corner. Going to give Josh Soto a little opportunity here. Soto opts not to take it. Oh, and took a really funny line into the tower turn that time. Looked like he was really unstable on the entry. Easy to catch a little too much of that entry curb and make tower turn really, really tough to get around quickly. Things have straightened back out though, and what looked like it might be a gap is rapidly closing down. Andrew Lanning pulling right back up to the bumper of Jordan Johnson there.
Ian Giebler offline through that sequence of corners is really, really hurting him right now, as Jordan Johnson might have to think about making the move this time, and he does. He goes for it, looking to the inside at Sunset Bend. Andrew Lanning then tries to follow him. Into Sunset we go, and ceding 2 positions effectively. Ian Giebler looks like he's going to go back to 3rd, but try to set up the exit off this famous corner to get to that throttle early, carry speed down the pit straight, and immediately back into the double draft of the race leaders. So Jordan Johnson leads from Lanning, from Giebler, Nick Love, Joshua Soto, and how about Colin Lounsbury? He's staying with them here. He's got a good chance to get in there if they squabble a little much.
Yeah, he's been slowly chipping away as these guys have been battling back and forth, and you know that TCR finish was no fluke. Second place there, he's up into the leading pack here effectively. Eagle-eyed among you will have noticed a car facing the wrong way at the Sunset Bend. That was David Warden. Gotten out a little bit wrong last time through, but he's cleared that up now, driving the right way. And he's got a little bit of a squabble ahead of him. Will Nonamaker is watching John McManus and the other Heartland racing car make a move up the inside of Orlando Harrell there. That was nicely executed.
Yeah, indeed. Through he goes. Tiny bit of damage on the Harrell car.
Like I said, solid racing up and down the grid. Always someone around your pace out here.
And this car just brings everyone towards your pace as well. Bit of a parachute rear wing. Stalls out a little bit, and you've got the long straights here, so the slipstream starts to really, really matter at multiple places around the track. Tough to get away from someone whose race pace is within a second, give or take, of your own. And Colin Lounsbury's gotten within a second of the race leaders to make it 6 cars up front there. Great effort from him. And he really buys into the battle. Jordan Johnson laying down some speed in the lead, but it will be much harder to get away in this car than the TCR.
Yeah, there's a lot of different lines too through this section of the track. And they all seem to be panning out more or less the same, but Soto gets that really wide exit and nearly touches the grass.
Not sure Giebler's line was perfect either, so there's some pressure on him here from Nick Love, who's been a little punchy at times when he's felt he needs to be.
He gets so close to the inside wall there. And then on the other hand, we see guys enjoying the fact that this iRacing scan of Sebring's been updated fairly recently, so it doesn't have that green hill on the outside of Sunset Bend on the exit there. All pavement all the way to the wall now. No more cars launched up into the atmosphere. First bit of lap traffic will be ahead too for these guys, as they're going to come up on Alan Wells, recovering from that wreck earlier on in the race.
Big weekend coming up for Salins as well at the Glen, no doubt. So great to see plenty of them here out in the ChampCar iRacing series as well. Obviously, the fans of this car, fans of this racing, but that's not where to turn in to turn number 7. Wheels on the dirt, going to the old track to try to rejoin and hopefully stay out of the way of the leaders as well. Everyone in the hotel pool would have had a good view of that.
Yeah, it's always exciting when someone goes long there.
Here's Love not going for third place. Thought about it. Had a look to the inside. Maybe foxed Giebler into making a little bit of a mistake. You can go too wide through this part here, and I think the inside line for Tower is absolutely where you've got to be.
Yeah, the move up the inside there too, very nicely done, and going to give a run to Soto behind. Soto hanging around in 5th, no more. He's 4th, and he wants 3rd. He's going to have the preferred entry to the next corner here up the inside. Oh, Love holds it tight around the outside, though. Easy to lose time when you jump the curb. Doesn't. Love will have the run. Soto's got the spot, though.
Yeah, super smart from Soto. He gets and picks off all of them, but it's 3 seconds to the race leaders now. Johnson and Lanning walking away as they continue to try to battle. Soto, Love, Lounsbury, Giebler all in behind this.
They're 2x2 going into Sunset Bend, and now they're 3 wide halfway through. It's getting a little spicy back here for 3rd place. Soto's been shuffled back to 4th with Love ahead, and Lounsbury's now taking his turn, overtaking Ian Giebler. Fastest lap by Andrew Lanning that time by in 2nd place. Shows you the pace that the front 2 are putting together too. Oh, it's really close there again between Soto and Love, and they touch on the exit. Both the cars facing the right way though. Lounsbury looked up the inside and thought better of it, but they're still too wide, and this is costing them time every single corner.
Eventually, Nick Love gets out a little bit wide. Josh Soto goes to the lead of this, and you've got Colin Lounsbury around the outside of him. Super, super close fighting. Soto wants it to keep going on so that he can get away, but it's almost an impossibility. Lounsbury breaking so deep around the outside for the super tight turn 7, slowest part of the track.
Yeah, Love's getting the draft here, though, and so he ought to be able to close the door, and he does. Lounsbury switches sides, though, and that causes Giebler to react. Not enough to take a position, but definitely enough to put a little scare there, I bet. Really close battling in this group.
It's amazing how your lap times can go from 225s to 228s when you just get into this sort of mindset, this sort of cover them off, look down the inside, go too wide through this corner, and suddenly someone like Tim Wyer is in the back of shot, having caught them 3 seconds on the last lap.
Yeah, Nick Love holding off Colin Lounsbury, but I heard a little lift from Lounsbury, so I wonder if he's wised up to the fact that Soto's now pulling away. Maybe give a little push here down the back straight.
First and second are absolutely gone. You saw Andrew Lanning picking up the fastest lap of the race last time around because they are working together here at the race lead, now out to 5 seconds on Soto.
Very interesting contrast in lines there. Johnson really rolling the speed through the first part of Sunset, and on the other hand, Andrew Lanning takes it very easy on the entry, but gets back to power a little earlier and uses more of the exit, and they come out of it, and it's nearly a dead heat, a tenth between them at best.
They go even faster that lap, putting more space between themselves and the pursuing group.
Yeah, they managed to break almost a full second off that pursuing group. But they're going to have to contend with some lap traffic here. They got Mark Kruger ahead in that yellow car. We'll have to see how he handles them. Mark Kruger running that custom livery, looking good. Kruger tuned racing.
One thing's for sure, as it gets darker, the drivers have got their headlight flasher bound, going to make others well aware that they're coming. So Kruger had an unfortunate start to this race. He's not falling a lap down just on pace alone, so he's well switched on about what's going on, about how to go quickly. A lot of curb there from Johnson.
Yeah, he
probably
paid
not
for
optimal.
it. Yeah, he paid for it on the exit. If you get this car sliding, the traction control is so aggressive that it'll really just kill your momentum. It keeps you going the right way, though, at least. They make pretty quick work of Kruger, though, all things considered.
Other cars starting to stop. The pit stops come early in the race for the Toyota GR86. So Dakota Knapp, Bill Sarlin, Scott Grinnell, all into the lane at the moment. And I guess some of our leaders soon, potentially.
It is a little curious to see that there is some drop off on these tires. We were noticing in the warm-ups, and the early undercut might be the move, but you got to think by the end of the race, your tires are going to be pretty shot as well.
Looking at the leaders as they go through Sunset, we get a very late indication as to who's pitting here. They look like they're on a normal Sunset Bend line, and then it's just a little tight from the apex, and they pull in, and you go, oh, there they go, pitting, but you don't see it coming from a long way away.
Lounsbury's having another look up the inside of Love here into turn 1, and it looks like he's going to make that move easily stick. He runs it a little wide on the exit, though. Has to lift to keep it out of the dirt. It's cost him some momentum, but I think Love gave him enough space that he won't pay the price for it. Back half of the top five, though, no way settled.
Absolutely not. It starts to settle into a little bit of a rhythm, and you got to think about your pit stop coming up. If that will jump you a couple spots or two, if that becomes a deciding difference when there's not much to separate them on track and they go back and forth as they have.
Josh Soto trying to take some lap traffic there in the form of Scott Grinnell, and had to take the full runoff on the exit at turn. That's 9 right there at the end of the hairpin, at the hairpin turn there. Anyway, he fully cut it, but I think he was able to give back any penalty that might have resulted. Had to brake real late, though, to make the overtake work. Traffic management, definitely a factor around Sebring whenever you're here.
And especially now you've got some of the midfield that have stopped and the leaders are catching them, but will drop back behind them when the leaders stop soonish.
And it's getting darker and darker. The advantage will become clear once that sun goes all the way down. Oh, and a big off here on the exit. That's Mark Kruger with all 4 tires off, and that's going to be evasive action from Soto as they go down the straight. Kruger just gets a little bit wrong, and you'll see he's all 4 tires off on the exit. And by the looks of things, Soto almost followed him, putting 2 tires off.
Looks like Colin Lounsbury pitting as Nick Love goes further. So from our leaders, Lounsbury will be the first to stop. Everyone else in the top 10, or top 8, carries on at least.
Yep. Leaders
40 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour pit lane speed limit here.
Yeah, it's pretty slow.
It might even be 45.
Pretty slow pit lane, but it does save you from the dramas of the lappers ahead. It looked like Lanning and Johnson had a little bit of a wake up as Jared Cubitt ended up facing the wrong way ahead of them as they were going through Gurney Bend. But clear, thankfully, for them as they went through. A lot of little dramas happening out here today. Seeing Colin Lounsbury exit the pits now. And John McManus taking an awful long stop. Another one of those Heartland racing goals.
It's about standard, is it not?
Yeah,
The good people looking at hjbc.live will attest that that's a stop time pretty similar to what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, I was looking at the likes of Sean Sputcher ahead, who had a much faster time in the lane, but maybe a bit short on fuel. We'll see.
Now, someone ran out on the last lap not long ago.
It might have been. I can't remember who it was, but I know it has been a factor around here.
Yeah. You always feel very, very slick when you've got a quick stop in the middle of the race and you leapfrog some of the guys you were battling, but you don't feel so smart or so tall or so big when it runs out late on. So the run on pit lane is on. Jordan Johnson pits from the lead. Andrew Lanning, Joshua Soto, Nick Love, almost all of them now with 35 minutes left in round 7 of the ChampCar iRacing series. They've all got to come in to Sebring's pit lane.
It was a little interesting to see the different lines. Looked like Jordan Johnson might have practiced that one a few times as he got nearly a second on the way into the pits. Seeing a few cars going up on jacks.
Yeah, that's what I'm also trying to keep my eye on right now, and if that makes any difference through the field. They're not they're not quick changing tyres. Joshua Soto's down off the jacks after sort of 17 seconds or so. Jordan Johnson's gone after 21 seconds. So pretty quick one from JJ. Oh, I love the neon palm trees. That's great. That's so Sebring. That's just so Sebring. You see that kind of sight, beside the track, you're like, not Daytona, not Le Mans, not Bathurst. That's Sebring. Drinking under the light up palm trees.
Oh, close
Jordan
call.
Johnson takes the race lead back.
I was going to say, close call at the exit of the pit lane. Colin Lounsbury was rejoining and got caught up on Tim Wire as he was coming out of the pits. That's for position right now, but Lounsbury's got to be a little frustrated as he's definitely getting held up here on the warm tires versus Tim Wire, who seems to be tiptoeing around a little bit on his colder tires.
Yeah, the numbers say just a couple seconds longer stop for Lounsbury than everyone else who's now ahead of him. So Lounsbury to 8th, and it brings Tim Wire back into it. He's on the fringe of being part of that sort of group for the podium, and then he just sort of 2-3 seconds away, 2 seconds off them, and now he's back ahead of Lounsbury, but still a couple seconds behind Giebler, who's in 5th. Yet to see who's going to be the biggest winner out of that pit stops.
Yeah, we'll be curious to see if Jordan Johnson's got the horses. That stop gave him a full second over Andrew Lanning, and you got to think that's going to be a full 2 seconds. Right, going to be pretty decisive for him.
So the best battle inside of the top 10 remains Tim Wire trying to fend off Colin Lounsbury. They're just moderately spaced inside of those podium positions at the moment, where Jordan Johnson, after the pit stop, looks like he might be able to get away from Andrew Lanning, which he knew wasn't possible in the first half of the race, and it maybe leaves Lanning a little vulnerable to Joshua Soto catching him down the back straight and into Sebring, Sunset Bend at Sebring goes Wire and Lounsbury. So I think your goal here for Tim Wire is you're never going to keep Lounsbury behind you forever. You've got to try to catch Giebler in 5th, because if the car behind's within 1 second, you're just never gonna drop them the way it seems like they've been racing so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wire's a guy who knows the strategy well. So is Giebler, with the two of them kind of being buddies. Wire, a strategy guy. And a commentator's curse puts him the wrong way. Oh.
He felt the pressure a little too hot, and he's gone and looped it around Tim Wire from a good spot in 6th, chasing 5th, drops back to 8th. So Jordan Butler actually gets through for another spot there, and up into 7th.
Yeah, that's a real heartbreaker for Wire. He was having a pretty solid race, but he'll carry on. He's more of a clipboard guy, he said, in real life, but enjoys racing on the iRacing sim and having some fun in these cars. And now we've kind of got one of those classic sports car battles going on in our race here today. We got Jordan Johnson with a 3.5 second gap back to Andrew Lanning, who might have more fuel, but needs to break down that gap. And then we got another 2.5 seconds back to Josh Soto, by the looks of things, who seems to have the most pace of the three, but he's got to make his way up there after the stops. And then Nick Love and Ian Giebler, another 6 seconds and 3 seconds back, respectively, are also just trying to find some consistency out here on this inconsistent, bumpy track. It's going to be watching the stopwatches as we go down through the last 30 minutes of this race.
End of this lap will give us the first flying lap since the pit stops for most of the leaders, and give us an idea of what their sort of clean air pace looks like at the moment. But I think what's of most importance is Andrew Lanning versus Joshua Soto. Soto slowly reeling him in, and we know when he gets to that 1 second, it's like magnets. They go boom, and he'll be right to the rear bumper of second place. And what happens then with 30 minutes left to go is really what decides the podium.
And those of you watching the stopwatches will notice Josh Soto just set the fastest lap of the race in clean air. So no draft assistance required. Soto takes almost a second out of the guys ahead. So he is on a charge right now. A little deeper in the back.
This is an interesting little flock.
You beat me to it.
We've got our eyes on them, but maybe they've got their eyes on us as well. Who knows? Again, if you go on Trading Paints and you look at Toyota GR86 paints, this one's right at the top. There's a couple hundred people getting around with their birds aren't real Toyota GR86s, and I hesitate to zoom in too far or read too much. All I know is I like the little rhyme. The little rhyme entertains me.
Yeah, the back of the rear wing. Making me giggle all the time. But I was going to say, Haynes, all these camera angles around here, who do you think's providing them? Clearly it's the birds, right?
Sure.
Seems legit to me. Davis Trask, though, is putting a little bit of pressure on Simon Fullweather, but they've split it up now, of course, because we've stopped or started watching them. So now I'd say the next battle where we've probably got on track is Ian Giebler and Colin Lounsbury. Lounsbury's actually taken the spot from Ian Giebler on this lap.
So, like we expected, battle resumes when they get back together after the pit stops, between second and third and between fifth and sixth.
Ooh.
Lounsbury versus Giebler.
And Lounsbury got a little wrong on the exit onto the back straight there. He had to hit the brakes on the exit curb, something you never want to have to do, especially when there's a big old straight afterwards. And Giebler's taking the advantage up the inside into Sunset. And he throws it on in there, dragging it down. That ABS means you can be pretty aggressive, but the switchback is real, and Lounsbury's going to make it work, sticking it up the inside and holding on to the position there, getting the better run on the exit too.
Perfect racing and a great example of what Sunset Bend can do with the bumps. But here for second place, pressure is on Andrew Lanning because Joshua Soto just about gone and matched his fastest lap of the race again, and he's all over Lanning. He's got almost a second per lap as well on what Jordan Johnson has been doing. Johnson had the shortest pit stop of everyone in the top 8, so I wonder, with a lot of time still to go in this one, if Joshua Soto doesn't think he can catch the lead.
You got to say that the math agrees with you, but it will depend a little bit because the math is going out the window right now as Andrew Lanning's going to have to put on a defense here. If he's seen that car closing up on him, he knows what's coming. And he leaves the door open. Does he think, oh, maybe I can follow Soto up to the car ahead?
Yeah, because I laid those numbers out, but it all depends on what Andrew Lanning does. We've seen you can lose 3 seconds per lap if someone in your slipstream wants to try to keep clawing it back. But if Lanning goes with Soto, they can catch Johnson. Lanning's under no obligation to do that. So it's all about what sort of state of mind Andrew Lanning is in. And that has a big bearing on Joshua Soto's race at the moment. Still, a very, very handy 25 minutes to go. The race lead is just 4 seconds, and Joshua Soto has the fastest lap of the race.
Oh, yeah, things are going to be tight up there, you got to think. And there's a fair amount of traffic ahead of the leaders.
I say that the lead is 4 seconds, but in reality, the way these cars work, the advantage is only 3.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you get into that draft, it makes such a big difference. So, as I was saying, Jordan Johnson at the front, he's got 4 cars ahead of him that he can see, headlights in the distance, but they're a little bit spread out right now. He might benefit a bit from that draft as Soto holds second place now at the line, dragging Andrew Lanning behind him into turn number 1. And so committed up the inside there. Oh, and so committed on the exit. Andrew Lanning goes all 4 tires off, catches the exit road, and manages to keep it on track. But he's pushing hard, and they got someone else off the road ahead of them. That's Scott Grinnell facing the wrong way. He's just got it a little bit long on the entry. Easy enough to do out here, as we said.
How many times does that happen? The guy in front gets a little wide and you just plain follow them off. It really tightens up on the exit of 1 when you go from the big wide runway that it is of the pit straight into the sort of more purpose-built section that takes you around a big bend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the taxiways aren't quite as forgiving around here as the main runways are. And so far, the traffic, I have to say, has been very forgiving of our leaders, but it's going to really come down to who catches them and when. Oh, and a bit of a drama in third. That was Andrew Lanning getting it a little bit wrong in the braking zone into Cunningham Corner. And as he gets to the apex, he jumps the thing over the curb, and it shakes out of control on him. He manages to get it going, but he's lost connection with Josh Soto. Could be a major point there for the race for him.
Yes, indeed. Needed to go with Joshua Soto, and little mistakes have cost him now 10 seconds. Andrew Lanning back in third, maybe even to come under pressure from Nick Love in fourth, but it's all about the race lead gap. It's coming down big time. Johnson's got to slow down.
Oh,
surely
no.
He does. The race lead could surely change here as Jordan Johnson gives up time and time and time. He loses almost 3.5 seconds. Joshua Soto within his slipstream, the race lead on with 22 minutes to go. A little bit of traffic for the race leaders, but a gap that Jordan Johnson needed to manage, needed to eke out to the checkered flag, dissolves, and suddenly he's right back in the fire.
Oh, that's so tough. With that 3-second gap, he'd only lost 1 since in the last 10 minutes or so. You'd think there was a chance, but this is going to be hard sledding for him from here on out. I got to see some blocking here from Jordan Johnson. Otherwise, I think the smart money's on Josh Soto at this point.
The sledding's very, very tough in Florida. Devon, they don't get much snow at all. A little bit of traffic, again, just adds some doubt to the leaders. They get around the outside, not precisely where you want to be. That'd be Alex Harrison, wouldn't it? They both drive around the outside of him at turn 7.
And the sailing car up ahead, getting that camera time, very well executed. As they come up on a little more lap traffic. Still a little bit of a gap, 0.3 between them. Soto not there to make the move yet. Jordan Johnson's going to be racing for his life. We've taken our eyes off it a few times, but there are some battles a little deeper in the pack too. We'll have to check in on in a little bit here. Let's see how they handle this this traffic ahead, though. We got Jordan Johnson now coming up on Bill Salen in that Salen's car. And Salen's going to run it nice and wide and let him by.
Yeah, exactly. That's
how you get the camera time. Well executed. I like it. Speaking of battles, though, Colin Lounsbury and Ian Giebler are pretty tight together as they come out of the last corner in the gun. What was that? The Le Mans curve on the exit there onto the Ullman Straight. Lots of names around this track. Let me tell you, David Haynes.
a lot of history. That's for sure. Including 1959 when Sir Jack Brabham pushed his Cooper across the checkered flag in the US Grand Prix after he ran out of fuel to become the first Australian World Drivers' Champion. So that happened.
Sounds like it'd get you disqualified these days. You know what I'm saying?
It's back when races were real men, Devon. So jot that one down. 0.3 of a second for the race lead. It's absolutely nothing. The margin no longer matters. It's about the fist fight. It's about the game of chess. It's just about who can lead on the final lap, because who leads every lap between now and then won't matter. But that is so deep on the brakes from Jordan Johnson. He skates out wide, the steering input to try to keep the thing on the road. Joshua Soto goes to the race lead, but it's going to be so tough to stay there.
Yeah, and sure enough, he drops back again behind him. I gotta wonder if there's a fuel situation going on here for Soto, because he didn't have a slowdown, so he didn't need to give that spot back. But he's decided he wants to be behind. You'd think, though, that Jordan Johnson would be in the same kind of pickle, though, right? Because Johnson didn't stop for even as long as Soto did.
Yeah, I just I don't know quite what that's about, why you'd make a look like that to try to pass for the race lead and then immediately give it up like that, unless you're trying to play some 300 IQ brain game against your opponent.
I'm not sure. Track's getting cooler out there, though, a little bit. Temperatures are starting to come down with the sky getting dark. Noticing the front ends of these cars really tend to grip up as the track temp drops down, and I think I saw Jordan Johnson almost look like he was bicycling it over the curbs there last time by. Really tight on the exit.
Lot happening now in the final run towards the checkered flag for the ChampCar iRacing Series Round 7 2023. Ooh. A lot happening, including second place, plane running off the road. You see why the grass doesn't grow there. It's because of people like Joshua Soto and people like the ChampCar Endurance Series as well.
Hey, at least you don't have to pay for the turf when you're out there. Colin Lounsbury and Ian Giebler are continuing their battle for fifth and sixth place. Lounsbury has been holding on to that spot ever since taking it a couple laps ago, and Giebler has been giving him the gears, looking up the inside all over the place. We'll see if he gets the run here as they go towards the hairpin. Not a big speed differential at the start of the straight, but it's growing quickly, and Giebler is making up ground. The late lunge has kind of been his move. Too far away, though, for it this time.
Four places you could possibly look if you wanted to see a battle on circuit at Sebring at the moment. All of them entertaining in their own ways. One of them, though, is the race lead. Joshua Soto has been flashing the headlights. He really looks like he wants by here again, looking aggressively to the inside on race leader Jordan Johnson.
I'm wondering if he's like trying to set it up, or at least understand what the draft is going to do. Because Lanning was able to hold with him until the mistake. Lots of cars ahead here, or at least a couple of them that are lapped down. And always sketchy when you catch them in the sunset bend, especially after dark. Real wide here from Jordan Johnson, but cuts it back in. Looks like a pretty consistent line.
No problems down the pit straight here for first and second place. 8 seconds away from third, so Lanning after his misadventures, not able to catch these leaders back up again yet.
While checking in on real close battles down in the field, 14th and 15th between Charles Kowalczyk and Dakota Knapp is getting a little bit spicy. Dakota had to look up at the inside at the tower turn, but that didn't quite pan out. And now the two of them are going to be glued together heading into the Gendebeen. How did I say this one, Haynes?
It's French. It's French, Devon.
Oh, and disappearing from the racetrack there is Dakota Knapp. He must have heard me mispronounce it. This is something that happens in iRacing when the connection gets a little bit spotty, but Dakota is benefiting from the draft either way, and he's going to make the move now to the outside after the inside is held onto by Charles Kowalczyk there. Dakota tries to make the move work around the outside in that Heartland Autosport car. He's going to cross over on the exit. Real tight up the inside. Nice short run to the line here. And they're going to be side by side, even if they can't see each other side by side at the line. Too wide.
Now, if it was the final lap of the race, there would have been 0.02 of a second in it, but it wasn't. I wouldn't be enjoying this if I was Dakota Knapp, but he's ahead now, going around the outside of turn 1.
Yeah, it's extra distracting at night when the headlights of the guy are appearing and disappearing. It can be a real issue, but still looks like fun's being had there in the middle of the pack. Always good to see people battling. In the meantime, our battle at the front's getting a little spicy as Soto has heard me describe that and decided he's going to do the same thing on Johnson into Sunset. Up the inside, oh, he got really loose there. He's got the preferred line, though, all the way through, and he holds Johnson to the outside. Johnson's going to get a bit of a run, though. This is a bit like your local dirt track. Gets that high line, and he's going to have the inside going into the next one.
And again, if that was the last lap of the race, there would have been 13 thousandths in it in Jordan Johnson's favor. He had the inside in towards turn number 1. Soto practicing going back over under in turn number 1 to get to the inside at what I think they label turn number 3. It gets a little confusing at times, but Soto now leads, and there is still time and laps left in this race, and they're willing to start trying to fighting it out. Exit of turn 5, Soto gets into the grass a little bit again. There's a really high curb that you need to jump to get out there as well. Not a move you want to do every single time. In towards turn 7, Soto starts defensive, comes back across onto the normal racing line, and then ends up just a little wide of the apex. And it's a tall first gear in these cars if you do bog down in the slow corners.
Yeah, no fun getting this thing off the line. Got to slip the clutch a fair bit. But Jordan Johnson seems comfortable in the draft right now. Probably had the opportunity to dive up the inside at the hairpin, but didn't. On the other hand, Soto was tail out and leaving black marks on the exit. So he got back on the power really early.
However this ends, it's going to be not only a potentially famous race win, but a very, very important one as well as far as the championship is concerned. Joshua Soto leading coming into this round. Jordan Johnson, the race winner last time out, could bag some wins in very, very quick succession. So I genuinely wonder if it plays into the way that Joshua Soto races, because it wouldn't surprise me to hear either way that maybe he's the kind of guy where that is totally out of his mind until the end of the race. At all, the bigger picture, the championship stuff, he's having an absolutely amazing race against Jordan Johnson, and I can't pick who's in the better position right now.
They're having a lot of fun out there, that's for sure, and they are pushing it to the limits. That's the widest we've seen them come out of Sunset, but they're both making it work, and they're flying around the track. Last time by, there was a 24 and a 25. This time, low 25s for both of them. They're getting every single bit of life out of those tires on there. and crucially not giving up any time to Andrew Lanning behind. So after Lanning's mistake, he's still sitting 9 seconds back, and it's just 2 for the lead right now. This point in the race with the lights down low, it kind of becomes a confidence thing, Being in the lead can actually be a little nice because you've got the guy behind illuminating your apexes.
You ever struggle for confidence when the lights are down low, Devon?
Never. Let me tell you about this one time in VIR. It was real wet and dark. Anyway, there's a race on the track. Looking at who should we look at? We got a couple battles going on. Colin Lounsbury's managed to pull a gap on Ian Giebler since we last checked in on him. So actually, Simon Foweather and Davis Trask and the Birds Aren't Real cars were the closest battle on track until it looks like Simon Foweather lifted and gave the spot. I think he had a corner cut. He gave the spot to Davis Trask, but Foweather's going to want that one back.
This is the willpower special here, the old double bird, and with Tim Wire in behind the both of them.
Yeah, they're finding their way around Davis Trask, but this is a 3-way battle.
Cubitt, is it not?
Sorry, yeah, that was Jared Cubitt facing the wrong way. Davis Trask is driving by him. But it's a 3-way battle. Tim Wire's on the back of the two Birds Aren't Real's car. And he's going to be looking to find his way back around him. 8th place up for grabs to whoever manages to pull this one out.
Another quote off the paint. Bird watching goes both ways.
Checking back in on the leaders, Josh Soto was a little squirrely that time into Sunset, but Jordan Johnson has a run. And he's got the draft critically, so we'll see. Does he decide to go up the inside? 8 minutes at the line. That's 4 more laps by my count.
They get so much closer to those outside tires on the exit of Sunset than I would ever dare in this kind of context.
Yeah, at night they come up on you fast, I gotta think. Both of them really using the curbs now. And Soto gets the better run that time. But again, the draft is with Johnson. And you got to think, that's what you'd want. Andrew Lanning actually looks like he's maybe had a bit of a drama at some point because he's fallen back a bit. And Nick Love is now catching up to him, only a second behind.
I think with no dance partner, no tow, Andrew Lanning's worried about fuel potentially. He had a sort of in-between stop between what our leaders have done here that are, slipstreaming off each other and what Nick Love and Colin Lounsbury have got, which is maybe a little more fuel. So I think that's just what it is for Lanning at the moment, saving a little bit of fuel, and then Nick Love will catch him. And Love loves a podium, so that could get very, very interesting with only a couple laps left to go. It's Davis Trask defending somewhat from Simon Foweather, who then has to look around the outside. Tim Wire watches on. Again, bird watching goes both ways, apparently. And he's now right with them. I'm pretty convinced it's pure coincidence that Trask and Foweather have the same livery here, but it is funny.
It is really good. Because you never know which one's watching who, And Tim Wire makes a move up the inside here.
Foweather really on Trask, man. So Simon Foweather tried to get down the inside. Davis Trask around the outside holds onto it.
Trask is now getting a little bit of overlap from Wire, though. No, sorry, that's Foweather getting overlap from Wire behind. And Wire really wants to make this a 3-way fight. He wants to overtake. And he has seemed to have the pace. Now, granted, the two ahead have been battling, but he was more than a second faster last time by.
He's one of the parts of the track that they've really struggled with the track limits. You can't just straight up cut the corner by taking some of the pavement. That's hopped a little bit on one of the bumps, ended up a little bit wide for Foweather. Not a great exit off the corner for him there. Looking at where the leaders have crossed the line. There'll be 3 more to go when these group of drivers get to the start-finish line with how much time is left. And that's once you start counting down sort of 3, 2, 1 on the lap count, they do get a bit more desperate as far as where you think you can overtake and what looks like a great opportunity, but Tim Wire catches one of the bumps wrong and he slides out of the hot dog bun.
Yeah, and that was just classic Sunset Bend. The car gets loose on the entry, catches it once, catches it twice, can't catch it a third time, and Tim Wire is going to drop off the back of that battle.
Sean Sputra's 19-second stop was way too short, so he's back onto the lane for a second time, again with 3 laps to go. 19 seconds of fuel has seen him come up 3 laps short. The race leaders took 22, 21, and 23 in the podium order, so things are going to get a little close on that for them, I suspect. Andrew Lanning might still be feeling that. Soto and Johnson. Soto with a great livery for, spotting in the headlights. The old Haim Vassar Sullivan Lexus GT3.
Yeah, high visibility won that one. And if you're Jordan Johnson, you're frantically mashing the buttons on your keyboard to try and figure out where the headlight flasher is at this point. Put a little extra pressure on Soto, as there'll be 2 to go at the line this time. And for those of you wondering about Lanning and Love, those two have gotten pretty close together now as well, about 1.5 second gap between the two of them. Lanning has been lapping. He had a real quick one last time, 2:24.5. So if there was a fuel save going on, it's kind of going away. But critically, there's only 8 tenths behind him as they enter onto the back straight. So we're going to have
a different kind of save going on as he ran through the grass and had to counter steer, and it's put Nick Love right to him towards Sunset Bend.
At the front, Josh Soto ran it a little wide, had to give up a little bit on the exit. Jordan Johnson's right behind him, but he doesn't decide to take the move. Curious. Oh, and an error there from Soto. Soto tags the inside wall, kicks up a bunch of sparks.
There's a marker at the apex up against the wall there, and he has left another one, and he gets a bad ride across one of the curbs. Tail kicks out, but now he's parked it at the inside of turn 5, trying to prevent Jordan Johnson going over-under to take the race lead away from him. You start to see it all flash before your eyes at this point of the race when you have a moment like that, because you know that if they get ahead of you this lap, you've only got 1 lap after that to try to take the race lead back. Johnson's still lifting and coasting, rolling it into some of these braking zones.
Oh man, and our whole top 5 is packing up as well, because Colin Lounsbury and Ian Giebler are all of a sudden back together again. The 2 of them nose to tail. So we're going to have battles all the way to the line here. 1.5 laps remaining.
Absolutely. Towards Tower, one of the few corners around here with any semblance of positive banking, and it means you can just take a little bit of a late apex, carry more speed than you think, but sometimes you carry more speed than you think you can think, and you end up cutting the dirt on the far side of the curb on the exit there, as many have done before. Another part of the track where you can't cut, especially getting too far across the curb in the left-hander here, seems to be what's been giving drivers those painful slowdown penalties that cost you 2 seconds, 3 seconds or more. No problems for our leading 2, where there's 0.3 of a second between them. They know the white flag is next, and if you're Jordan Johnson, you've got to think, where can I pass in the next 3 miles or so of Sebring? And Joshua Soto's got to think, how do I stop him?
Yeah, there's a lot of weaving going on the back straight this time. Colin Lounsbury's holding off Ian Giebler's charge, but Jordan Butler's managed to get himself in the picture too, back at 7th from nowhere. They're going to be 3 battling for that 5th place spot as we go down the back straight with them, but back to the leading 2.
Final lap of Sebring for the race leaders, all to play for. 50-50, I'd say, their chances, because you can slipstream and pass in this car very, very easily. Joshua Soto will need to be so careful. He rides that curb poorly again, but this time has a good run through turn 5. He's feeling the heat, he's feeling the pressure, and he's getting maybe just a little bit sloppy.
Ian Giebler's touched Colin Lounsbury on that time through Sunset Bend, and he's facing the wrong way. It's now a 2-car battle for 5th, Colin Lounsbury and Jordan Butler. But they're too
Johnson
wide
goes
at the
down
front.
the inside at turn 7, absolutely equal. They almost rub doors there. Joshua Soto stays in it around the outside, and that'll be the outside for the next corner as well. They go through these flat out S's, and they are door to door, and it looks like Soto's pulling very effectively with the side draft, but from around the outside, can he maintain position? He's going to try. Johnson rides the curb on the inside, gets a bit sideways. Joshua Soto goes back to the lead of the race. Absolutely intense racing, door to door, wheel to wheel, and Joshua Soto holds on to the race lead, pulls out half a second or so. And the next opportunity for Jordan Johnson is going to be Sunset Bend, and then it'll be the checkered flag.
Well, you got to think he knows the timing. They've done it enough times tonight. We'll see what he's learned.
The run off Lamar will be absolutely critical. How are the track limits for Johnson there? He looked like he might have been the wrong side of the yellow line. He doesn't lift, and Soto will go all the way to the yellow line and to the concrete wall on the right-hand side, trying to defend the inside of Sunset Bend on the final time of asking for a race win in the ChampCar iRacing Series for the points and the glory that go along with it. Johnson swaps to go the long way around the outside of Sunset. Soto gets in a little bit hot, but still holds the inside, gives him just a little bit of a rub on the exit, sends him out towards the tires. Now it's just pure drag race to the checkered flag. Side draft seems strong. Who can pull it off in an absolute photo finish? And it's Jordan Johnson, 4 thousandths of a second around the outside of Sunset Bend, pulling the side draft and taking back-to-back race wins.
Andrew Lanning is crossing the line in 4th place after Nicholas Love took him at turn 2, managed to hold on, but the battle's still raging further back. Colin Lounsbury is holding off Jordan Butler for 5th place. Butler's been putting the pressure on through this entire last lap since Ian Giebler went away, but under the lights of the fireworks, Colin Lounsbury is going to hold on to 5th place from Jordan Butler. Great racing between those two. Davis Trask and Simon Foweather finally split themselves up for 7th and 8th and 9th place. It looks like Trask is going to be coming to the line in that Birds Aren't Real car first, with Foweather behind. Any other battles going on in the field here?
Grinnell and Warden for 18th and 19th?
Now, they've been going back and forth a fair bit, actually. I've been kind of keeping an eye on them. We'll watch them come to the line here.
Yeah, I think they are going to be some of the last cars to the checkered flag and also the last cars battling, but I don't know what to make of their last lap times between these two and who respectively has the pace. David Warden pitted at the end of lap number 1 and has raced on since then. Grinnell's been around a couple of times, but I think a good lap from Grinnell is quicker than David Warden. But again, consistency all the way to the line is needed.
Big run here from David Warden off Le Mans curve. He's going to have a run here going down into Sunset, you got to think. And it's hard to make too wide work. That's going to be good from the front of the field to the back of the field here. Warden closing ground. Can he make enough time? Gets the better run again. I'm not sure it's going to be enough, though, even with the draft. Needed another 300 feet, and he might have had him. And that's the last two finishers out there for us. Scott Grinnell holds off David Warden. Battles all the way up and down the field here today in the ChampCar iRacing Series.
Nail biting from first to last. It's a shame this doesn't have the exact margin, because I've got it in the iRacing sim in the results as 4 thousandths of a second. Have we ever had a closer battle for the win in the ChampCar iRacing Series? We've had some close ones, but I don't think ever like that. Jordan Johnson holding his medal, holding his nerve, refusing to give up. Joshua Soto racing him as hard as he can. They rubbed in Sebring, but Soto didn't fence him, didn't turn him, fought all he thought he could, and Johnson takes the win. The rest of the results there: Nick Love, Andrew Lanning, Colin Lounsbury, Jordan Butler, Ian Giebler, Davis Trask, Simon Foweather, and Tim Wire inside of the top 10. Orlando Herald, consistent as ever for 11th, ahead of John McManus, Dakota Fripp, Charles Kowalczyk, Sean Saputra, Mark Kruger, Alex Harrison, Scott Grinnell, David Warden, and Bill Salen. 1 lap down. Will Nonamaker, 10 laps back, 11 laps back for Alan Wells, and I don't think Ben Rose even took the start. What a race, Devon. Let's go pick some brains about that one.
Well, I'm seeing a whole bunch of folks out there. I got Nicholas Love here. Nicholas, heck of a race for you, and it looked like Andrew Lanning had you there near the end of the race, but all of a sudden you found your way onto the podium.
Yeah, it was a blast. It was unexpected. He made a few mistakes and let me catch up, and then we had just an absolute great battle those last couple laps, just going back and forth side by side through some of those corners that are just super tight. But no, it was a blast. Didn't expect to be here, but I'm happy to be back.
Well, a solid race and ends Andrew's streaks. This would have been 3 races in a row, 3rd place, number 3 car. It's always fun to play the spoiler, isn't it?
Yeah, I just definitely didn't expect it. It was one of those things where I was just started to cruise mid race. There was an 8-second gap ahead, 8-second gap behind. So I figured I'll just cruise, just take 4th. I'm happy. And then I saw the opportunity and I took it.
Consistency is always key. Solid race for you there. Anyone you need to thank?
Yeah, shout out to all the Love Racing guys. They're racing. It's been a blast to race with them. Shout out to the girlfriend who's keeping the dogs from attacking me. So, yep. And thanks, guys, for all that you do.
Cheers. Haynes, you got another one for me?
If that ain't love, I don't know what love is. Great to hear from Nick Love and the team effort there. Well, I guess we've got to go 2nd place, and it's the closest 2nd place I think we've ever seen in ChampCar iRacing series. Maybe the closest you've been in a while. Talk us through that final lap, Josh.
Oh man, yeah, the final lap going into turn 1 and well, actually not turn 1, turn 4. No, turn 7. Going into the slight hairpin. I didn't expect Jordan to try to overtake. I was expecting him to try to overtake, on the back straight, because that's usually where everybody overtakes. So things got interesting going into I believe it was 9. There was like a slight contact, so there was like a little bit of a gap. So I was just trying to maintain that gap. Made a couple of mistakes, and he ended up getting the run for the back straight. So, but yeah, it was a very interesting last lap.
How about the first lap then, and early going in the race, because you qualified exceptionally well, and I mean, you could have been forgiven for thinking it was all over and it was no chance by the end of lap 2.
Oh yeah, going into lap 1 after the contact, I was just trying to see like how much damage I did have, because I when I had went sideways, the car made contact with my left side of the car. So I was just trying to see like if I had a lot of damage. I did have some damage, especially on the straight, but I was able to catch up a little bit and get into the draft. And then when I got into the pit, I was able to take a fast repair, get the car back in on its right pace.
Well, if you were thinking big picture championship game, you wouldn't be disappointed with a 2nd place. But after an hour of racing like that, I mean, you get so close, you want the win.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely wanted to win here, my home track. But 2nd place isn't too bad. I look forward for the a first in the next race.
That's the spirit, no doubt. You're going to have to break a winning streak from Jordan Johnson the way that it's going, but certainly right there with him and delivered us one of the closest finishes ever that you could expect to see at Sebring. Well done.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Jordan Johnson, one race, one win. Good record here in the ChampCar iRacing series.
Yeah, a much different story from last time out, that's for certain. I was talking to Josh. I was shaking at the end of that. It's rare that ending up getting some kind of result like that where you're racing all the ways to the line. I think he knew quite early on that I was waiting until that last lap, but there was inches to spare, and yeah, even at the end, we took everything we could. So I couldn't be happier with how we ran that race.
Absolutely. It was drama from flag to flag. Going into turn one there, it looked like a mess up your inside.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by it. I figured that we were going to be running quite safe into turn one. And then I heard contact on my inside, and I just opened up my wheel and just try to avoid anything that happens, because really on the inside there, especially once you have a car in your recorder, there's not much you can do. You just need to give as much space as possible. But obviously you still have the outside curbing that's coming up very quick. Lucky enough to avoid that. But I later had my own drama that kind of brought things back together as a result.
I was going to say, it looked like it was going to be a three-way battle at the pit stop, but you managed to pull away a little quicker than everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, part of that was a little bit of fuel saving. When I had Andrew behind me, I saw that he wasn't really going for a move, so I was convinced he was going for some kind of fuel saving strat, so I started trying to replicate until I got a little bit of a gap, unfortunately, in the last lap, so too little to make use of it. But then I decided I was going to short fuel as close as I could to my fuel calculator. My fuel calculator said I was coming out with the exact amount of fuel that I needed until I got to about Tower Corner, and it told me I was 2.2 liters down. And from that point, the story kind of told itself.
Yeah, and then a battle right all the way to the line. That was super duper impressive. Were you timing it out in the last few laps?
I was getting an idea of where I was stronger, where I was weaker. But realistically, I mean, the main places I was stronger, turn 3 through 5, there's no point in making an overtake there, because then you're vulnerable, of course, down the main straight and the Ullman straight. There you can easily get overtaken back. But I was realizing maybe from my end, it looked like that Josh was hitting the inside wall of turn 1 occasionally. So maybe was getting a little bit of advantage on Arrow on that end. It could have been netcode. I wasn't too sure, but I just took the opportunity I could. I figured in turn 7 at that point, if you make the move stick, the car behind tends to lose enough time that you're safe. But Josh kept it with, and had to eventually concede that after getting a little bit dicey on the curb, and I had to just kind of put it all on the line. Final sector, Le Mans corner. I think I left no more than millimeters to the track limits, and fortunately enough, it worked out, but Josh really didn't make it easy, that's for certain.
Well, it was great stuff, and thanks for putting on a great show for us. Anyone you need to shout out tonight?
Yeah, of course, my team, Pure Sims Esports, just for all the help that they give us, and of course our sponsors and partners, Sim Labs, Cube Controls, OVP Esports, Knight Rider Designs, 3M, really just all the guys and gals that come out, support us, help us make our racing dream a reality, and be able to go out and compete in top split events and events like these, and just carry on with a sim racing dream.
Props.
Thank you.
Great to hear from our whole podium there in an immensely close ChampCar iRacing Series Round 7 from Sebring International Raceway. 4 thousandths of a second, absolutely side by side, taking the checkered flag at Sebring. Jordan Johnson becomes the winner. Back-to-back race wins for him. Totally different story to his last race win by a larger margin, though. We look forward to the racing coming up in the ChampCar iRacing series, and you can find all of the information and the schedule at forum.champcar.org. It's the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval Enduro, July 8th, and the next regular season win, the regular season at VIR in the NC Miata, August 2nd. So one of the endurance rounds and one of the regular 1 hour races coming up next in the calendar. You'll catch the Charlotte Roval race here on HJBC as well. And if you want to get your team together, get your crew and come racing with us, it's forum.champcar.org. You'll find all the information to join the iRacing series, join the Discord, chat with the other racers, and hopefully in a couple of weeks' time, we have a great race there. For myself, David Haynes, Seven Peters, Michael Derby, thanks so much for joining us for an amazing race at Sebring, and we'll catch you next time.